A senior UN official has said she is very concerned about reports related to the transfer and use of cluster munitions to Ukraine. Speaking at a Security Council meeting, the United Nations disarmament chief warned many of those weapons could fall into the wrong hands and pose a real danger for years to come.
Reports related to the transfer and the use of cluster munitions are very concerning. Spokesperson of the Secretary General has called for these types of munitions to be consigned to history and not to be used. Measures to address the risk of diversion of weapons and ammunition to unauthorized end users and for unauthorized uses are essential for preventing further instability and insecurity in Ukraine, the region, and beyond.
At the same time, the United States has approved further military support to Ukraine. Media reports say US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has authorized sending the long-sought-after US-made F-16 jet fighters from Denmark and the Netherlands. Meanwhile, in the Netherlands, an exhibition dedicated to the youngest victims of war. On display at the Amsterdam City Hall, the diaries and drawings of Ukrainian children caught up in the fighting. A rare vision of the horror they've witnessed, and which will stay with them forever.
United Nations peacekeepers in Cyprus have been attacked by Turkish Cypriots. A video shows construction machines pushing aside UN vehicles and barbed wire, and scuffles between security guards and the international force. The incident took place when peacekeepers stood in the way of a construction crew working on an unauthorized road in a UN-controlled buffer zone on the ethnically divided island. Leadership of the UN mission and the European Union have condemned the attack, in which 3 peacekeepers were seriously injured. The EU's top diplomat, Josep Borrell, called on the Turkish Cypriot side to respect the mission's authority in the buffer zone. While EU Council President Charles Michel said the safety of the blue helmets and a de-escalation of the situation must remain a priority. The violence constitutes a serious escalation of tensions not seen on the island in years. The peacekeeping mission is one of the oldest in the world, being sent to the island in the 1960s to quash violence between Greek and Turkish Cypriots.
Sebastian Kurz, Austria's former chancellor, has been charged with making false statements to a parliamentary inquiry into alleged corruption in his first government, which collapsed in 2019. The news broke as current Chancellor Karl Nehammer was meeting journalists.
Wenn es denn so ist, dann besteht jetzt endlich die Möglichkeit der Aufklärung. Das ist für alle betroffenen Personen auch dann da die Gelegenheit, tatsächlich eben diese Aufklärung auch anzustreben und zu leisten.
Kurz pulled the plug on the 2019 government after a video surfaced showing the Vice-Chancellor and Freedom Party leader at the time, Heinz-Christian Strache, appearing to offer favours to a purported Russian investor. Kurz took to social media on Friday to protest his innocence. His trial is expected to start on October the 18th.
As Russia continues its crackdown on democratic bodies, the co-chair of the country's last independent election monitoring campaign group, Golos, or Voice, has been arrested. Grigory Melkoniens was one of the people detained during a series of police raids on the organization. He was charged on suspicion of being involved with an undesirable organization, likely a European election monitoring group. On Friday, a Moscow court formally arrested him and is expected to remain in custody until the 17th of October. If convicted, he faces up to 6 years in prison. A convoy of environmental activists set off from a village in rural France on Friday. They're heading to Paris as part of a protest against controversial plans to construct large-scale reservoirs to help farmers better cope with summer droughts. The demonstrators argue that the government should instead be encouraging them to use resource-conserving practices. Between 500 and 1,000 people are expected to take part in the so-called water convoy, which is due to arrive in Paris at the end of August.